There's a unique kind of loneliness that begins the day you realize both your parents are gone. No matter how old you are 40, 50, 60, 70, there's something deeply unsettling about becoming an adult without parents. And when you've lost both parents in a short amount of time, you don't just lose two people, you lose two anchors, two historians of your life, two people who knew you before you knew yourself. So, what do you do? What do you do when the people who gave you life are no longer here? Before we go any further, if you've experienced the loss of one or both parents and you might know someone who has, I encourage you to like, share, and subscribe. Someone is carrying this grief in silence today. Let's remind them they don't have to carry it alone. Welcome to Sit With It. I'm Dr. Dandridge. This is a space where we don't rush healing. No, we do exactly that. We sit with it. Today, we're talking about something that changes a person in ways few people truly understand: losing both parents within a short period of time. People often ask, "How are you doing?" But they rarely understand what has actually been lost. Because this isn't simply the loss of two family members. No, it's the loss of your first home, your first teachers, the people who celebrated your birth, the people who knew your childhood stories, the people who could answer questions about your family, your history, and your beginnings. When they're both gone, life feels different, even if you're surrounded by people who love you. I once spoke with someone who had lost both parents within 18 months, and they said something I'll never forget. They said, "I didn't realize how much of my identity was connected to knowing my parents were still in the world." They weren't calling every day, they weren't dependent on them, but there was a comfort in simply knowing they were there. Then one day, both were gone. And they said to me, they said this, they said, "I feel like I had become the oldest generation overnight. No one to call for family recipes, no one to ask about childhood memories, no one to say, 'Remember when?'" And maybe that's where you are, feeling like the world expects you to move forward while you're still trying to understand who you are without the two people who first called you son or daughter. Today, I want to leave you with three truths that I hope will walk beside you on this journey. The first truth is this: you're not just grieving two people, you're grieving an entire chapter of your life. Let's begin here. When both parents die, the grief is multiplied. You're grieving two relationships, two voices, two personalities, two sources of comfort, an entire generation of your family. You may also find yourself grieving family traditions, holiday gatherings, stories you'll never hear again, questions you'll never get answered. This is more than loss. This is the closing of a chapter that can never be rewritten. And it's okay to acknowledge just how significant that feels in this season. I want you to ask yourself, what part of your life changed the most after losing both of your parents? The second point I want you to think about or consider is that you may feel a little untethered, and that's more common than you think. See, many people describe feeling untethered after losing parents. They feel like they've lost their emotional home. Even if you haven't lived with your parents for decades, knowing they existed provided a quiet sense of security. Now, you may find yourself thinking, who do I call now? Who remembers my childhood? Who will tell my children about where I came from? Those questions aren't signs of weakness. No, they're reminders that parents often represent continuity. And when that continuity is gone, we naturally feel disoriented. What I want you to do today is I want you to give yourself permission to grieve not only who they were, but also what they represented. I want you to answer this question within yourself. What, or should I say, where have you noticed yourself feeling untethered since their passing? The third thing I want you to consider is that their absence changes your story, but it doesn't end it. One of the greatest fears after losing parents is believing I'm all alone now. But while their physical presence is gone, their influence on their lives continues. You carry their lessons, you carry their values, you carry their laughter, you carry their resilience, perhaps even their mannerisms. You are, in many ways, part of their living legacy. This is where designing your goodbyes becomes deeply meaningful because saying goodbye isn't about forgetting. No, it's about intentionally carrying forward what mattered most. You honor them, not only by remembering how they died, but by living what they taught you. This doesn't erase grief. No, it gives grief direction. I want you to answer and reflect on one quality from each of your parents that you hope to carry forward for the rest of your life. I actually want to invite you. I want to invite you inside of today's conversation. If you're comfortable, I want you to share inside of the comments one lesson your mother taught you. Share one lesson your father taught you. Because I want to create a space where their wisdom, what they imparted inside of you, continues to live through us. Now let's take a deep breath, like we always do. I want you to close your eyes for a moment, and I want you to picture your parents. Not during illness, not during their final days. I want you to picture them at their best, smiling, laughing, living. Now I want you to quietly say these two words: thank you. Thank you for the life you gave me. Thank you for the sacrifices I never fully saw. Thank you for loving me in the ways you knew how. And if there are tears that rise inside of this moment, I encourage you to let them come because the love that you have to your parents deserves room to be felt. If you've lost both parents, I want you to hear something today. Your grief is not too much, it makes sense. You are mourning two of the most foundational relationships a person can have. There will be days when you wish you could pick up the phone one more time. Days when a piece of good news makes you instantly think, I need to tell mom, I need to tell dad. Those moments will come, but they are not signs that you are failing. No, they are reminders of how deeply you loved. And love like that, it does leave an imprint. Family, if today's conversation encouraged you, please like, share, subscribe. There are countless adults quietly grieving both of their parents, wondering if anyone understands what they're carrying. If you're looking for practical guidance as you continue your grief journey, I invite you to go check out my books, Designing Your Goodbyes and Sit With It. Both of them are available on Amazon. And my hope is that these resources will help you navigate loss with compassion, intentionality, and hope while honoring the people who help shape your life. Family, losing both parents may change the way you experience the world, especially as an orphaned adult, but it doesn't erase the love they planted within you. Today, I want you to carry that love. I want you to share that love. I want you to live that love. But I also want you to remember that healing doesn't happen when you rush it. No, it happens when you sit with it. You all be blessed.